Welcome to the Sip and Chat, where we podcast about very important topics such as relationships, traumas, difficulties, hard conversations. Yeah. And I do so with my awesome co host, Miss Nexie. I put the link in the chat. But before we get into all of that, everybody, what are you sipping on? What are you sipping on, you sippers? I'm waiting for my co host. And then when my co host joins, then I will put back up the banner. But how are you guys doing? Welcome to the Sip and Chat. Welcome to Love Marlene 411. Really do appreciate you. Today, we're going to be talking about the topic from one mother to another. I'm not sure if yeah, I did. From one mother to another. So I'm looking forward to it. So let's invite up my wonderful co host, Miss Nexie, in the building.
Yeah! Applause and everybody bows. How are you, Marlene?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you so much. Miss Nexie, what are you?
You know my answer, Marlene. I'm sorry to cut you off right there, but you know my answer. It's a super hot coffee because it's super cold here. And okay. This time is a mocha flavor coffee. There's the difference.
Okay. Okay. This time it's mocha. Last time it was boba. It was boba.
I love those boba things, but they're so cold right now. It's not worth it. How have you been?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Doing great. Ready for the springtime. I really am. That's my
Oh,
season. Oh, I love everything about the springtime. It's beautiful, and the flowers and the roses and the orchids, and things are blooming and birds are singing and people are in love.
love the springtime for just that reason. All everything is blooming. It's just so green, and the smells are so amazing.
Mhm.
And the holiday thing that everybody calls like, oh yeah, we're in love, things like that.
Yeah, whatever, whatever, whatever. We don't have to get into all of that. That's not important. But I just like my Hallmark movies. That's what's important.
Ooh, don't go there, Dexy. Don't go there. Yes, they're beautiful, Marlene.
Okay, okay, Miss Nixie. Let's stay on track for a little bit. Okay. So today we're talking about, from one mother to another, talking about communication. When we were talking about doing this topic, what really resonated with me is that everybody has different experiences when it comes to motherhood. For me, my experiences with motherhood is not from birth per se, but from I was the time I was 14 years old, I've been mothering children, my nieces and my nephews. And then, now I have a special needs sister who she's my daughter, honestly, because, that they never get to be like 18 and then they're leaving. They're always going to be that forever. So, yeah, that's my child. And I also have a child that was my brother's, and now it's mine.
He is yours. He's your child. There's no such a thing as was my brother's. No, that's your child.
I know, and he looks like me and everything. So, what can I
Oh, yes, he
say?
does. Yes, he does. That boy is you all over again.
And
Um,
that's what my brother said too when he was born. He was like, "How does he have your whole face?" I was like,
because
"Nah."
he was born for me. He
I
was
was like,
born
"Thank."
for me.
I was like, "Thanks for having my kid. Give me my kid."
For me, it's see, motherhood. A lot of people think that is just biological, right?
Mm-hmm.
They think that is because you give birth to this child and therefore no, now you're a mother. But it's respectfully, yes, it is that. But there are children that others born for you, but they are for you. They give birth for you, but they are actually your children. And I have the two spectrums. I have children that I gave birth to and they're my kids, and I have a child that somebody else was kind enough to do that for me, and he is my own as well. So we're both in different spectrums, but the bottom line here is that we're both mothers,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, and I thank you so much for acknowledging that, because sometimes people say like, "You're not a mother. You didn't birth a child." I was like, that's not what my bank account says. Says I'm paying for all of these things. Yeah.
You're like, that's not what these bags under my eyes say. From worrying about, when he's sick, when she's sick, when
Yep.
they're not home at a certain time, when you're worried about their grades, when you're worried about if they're doing okay, when you're worrying about if they're not doing okay. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, that is my child, no matter what.
Yeah, and I feel like it's time to start saying that. Like, stop saying people who are aunties and grandparents and whoever is raising a child. And let's also say that the children choose who their parents are. It doesn't matter to me who births a child, but a child says, "This is my mom. This is
Hmm.
my dad. This is my." They
Yep.
say that. So you can say all day long, you may have birthed a child, but that does not automatically make you a mother or a father.
It's so true. I told you in I think a couple of lives before that my son's wonderful mom, she said, she's not your mom. And my son was so, like, he was so stressed out, this little 4-year old, that she said that because in his heart, I was his mom. So you people may think that they are not ours because biologically maybe they aren't, but
Mhm.
in the kid's heart we are. So for us, that's all it matters.
It
That's
is.
all it matters.
That's all that matters. And I have to acknowledge and give a big hoorah, kudos, and celebration to all the bonus moms, because they don't get the kudos either. The bonus moms, the bonus dads, the what is it called? The adopted moms and dads,
Hmm.
grandparents, the aunties and the uncles, the ones that people leave out from saying that they are parents when they actually are. I celebrate you and you're doing an amazing job.
Could have not said it better myself. Amen to that, Marlene. Amen to that.
Yes.
And for me is, and I always tell this to people that are coming into getting married or getting together with somebody that has children, is I tell them, I know that a lot of people use that step so and so, but leave the step out. Just view them as what they're going to be. They're going to be your children, regardless of who gave birth to them, because you're coming into their life. Try to make a difference in it. No
Exactly.
steps, no steps allowed.
Yeah, I don't believe in step. I've never liked that word. I always feel like it has such a negative connotation. I don't like it. It makes that child feel like they are not received.
They're apart
Like,
from the other children.
yeah, but like it's a separation. It
Hmm.
causes separation, and that's not a good thing. So let me acknowledge everybody who is in the chat first, and then we will get started. We got James Wilson in the building, and we have Wanda. We also have Miss Tracy. So welcome everybody.
Welcome, Wanda. Welcome, Tracy. Hey, James.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for being here. And I always ask for you guys, your thoughts as well and opinions, because this is the sip and chat where we have, have those conversations and we talk about things that maybe some people don't like to talk about. So let me just say this, Miss Next, I'm gonna start off with a boom, a bang. But when I was growing up, my mother didn't think that it was important to say anything to children. It was just like, oh, go sit down somewhere, or what are you even talking about? Stay out of everything. Always ended with stay out of grown people's business.
Mhm. How many times did we get our ears pulled because of it?
Yep, ears pulled and a swat to the rear end.
Forgot about that one. Ouch. Y-
Yeah.
You know, I remember when I didn't understand something, my dad will say, he would just look at us and we knew that we had to go. My sisters were the ones in control that, okay, let's go there. It's normally, we didn't have to be told. We knew that it was grown up business, right? When somebody came to visit my dad and, wanted to talk to him. But my dad would always, if he had to say something to us, can you guys step out or whatever, my dad will explain to us afterwards, when somebody like that, comes over to talk to me, think about when your friends come over to talk to you, right? You want to have that time alone with your friends. You don't want me to be on the mix. So think about it that way. This friend is coming over to talk to me, so you shouldn't be in it, in
Well,
our conversation.
Well,
So
Nexie, I'm glad that your dad, explained that to you, because as a child, I didn't understand. I used to feel so frustrated, and I would be in the, I'm not there, but I would have my ear to the door, like,
oh, no,
mm-hmm.
no,
Oh,
no,
that's
you
not
don't
how it
understand.
went. Mm-mm. No,
Marlene,
I was there.
you don't understand. It's why, because like the thousand questions I asked after that person left, that he had to say those things. When you have your conversations with your friends, they're between you two, right? You don't come and tell me, because I'm gonna start asking and I'll be like, okay, I get it, I get it. Even though, our conversations were all about, the new cards we're collecting, the cards that, on this little booklet we had, or the candies, it didn't matter. But the point he was trying to make, convey to us is, we all have our friends and we need me time with our friends. So you have to remember that, because I will follow with so many questions. Is he okay? What is wrong with him? Something happened? And my dad will be like, what is wrong with you? Oh man, I just wanted to know, because there's an age when we all want to know what's going on with everybody, right? I don't know what age that is, but it's a weird age. Right now, I don't want to know what anybody wants or anybody thinks. But back then, it was there. So I got a lot of my parenting techniques and a lot of the ways of being a parent. I got them from my dad, to being a mom, because I did not have a mom except for my sister, who was my role model as a mom, and she's an amazing mother. But a lot of those techniques, I apply them to my children.
See, and that's good that you had a father that was open to communicate. I had the opposite experience. It was like we didn't talk about anything. Everything was pushed under the rug. Actually, it was recommended. We don't talk about things. Keep that to yourself. And that's private. We don't talk about that. We don't discuss. And I was like, well, when are we going to talk about it? I was like, we're not.
And
Yeah.
that adds a little bit more of intrigue, because now you really want to know. So next time this person comes over, you want to have that ear to the door
Mhm.
to find out what they were talking about, or how secretive, or why it's so like hush hush, right?
Mhm. I
But
never had. Oh, I'm
go ahead.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead. I was
Yeah,
pretty much done.
I have never really understood why it is that everything has to be hush hush, and I think that in certain age groups, I can say because my parents were in, before they passed, my parents got to live to be 80 years old, and back in the day, how it used to be is children were seen, they were not heard, they were told what to do, and basically children were to do their homework, to listen to their parents, and to have, and to just be mini robots, and to be like, yes, 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 whatever, whatever you say, mom. Yes, yes, whatever you say, dad. And I was like, what happens to individuality? Um, Wanda said she has a question for you.
I was gonna say sorry, parents of Marlene and Nixie, that you guys didn't get your wish for children to be hush hush and seen but not heard. I'm
No,
sorry, I had to say it.
listen, Nexie. I was supposed to be seen and not heard, but I think that's the reason why I was such a, I'm not going to say naughty, but naughty. Why I was so the way that I was is because I was not a child that, you telling me no, 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 or don't ask made me want to know even more. It made me even more
It,
inquisitive and even more that way.
and I actually same way with you. My father passed away, a year ago, and he lived to be 94,
Hmm.
94, 95. So he, they're from back in my day
Back
type
in
of
the
people.
day.
But the difference is that I guess for my dad, since he got to raise us on his own, my dad was pretty much changing with the times, that we were all born with. He had his wisdom, he had his way, but my dad had a lot of patience with us, at least with me. I my sisters say that, share the same thing. They say my dad was very kind to them, very good to them. I don't know about my brothers, because they were a handful, but I don't know how they think of my dad. I have never had that depth in communications as far as how do you feel? How was he with you? Like, I've never gone there with them. But
Mm,
for us three girls, he was very patient, very kind to us,
okay,
very good to us. So
awesome.
I had that input. Now I feel that our parents, as because they were older, right, Marlene, and we grew. You and I were born in the era of change, because it was a lot of things were changing,
Hmm.
and a lot of women were becoming more, outspoken, getting a little bit more power. There was a women's movement, yeah, but they were becoming more self sufficient, becoming more out on themselves, like becoming more of a woman that can say and do things, as compared to when they were growing up. I feel that sometimes they wanted to apply those same rules from back there that we were not witnessing, because we were witnessing movement. We were
Right,
witnessing, a change. So I feel that I don't blame them 100%, because of, their way of thinking. I don't, because that's how they grew up.
right.
They didn't
Exactly.
assimilate to when we were born. That's the difference.
Exactly. Nexie, the question from Wanda is, did her father have more sisters than brothers?
No, no, my father actually had no sisters. The one sister that was born in his family passed away when she was 7 years old. But
Hmm.
he had eight brothers.
Whoa, I did not know that.
Yeah, yeah, my father had eight brothers.
Mm.
Yeah, most of them. Just the one sister, she passed away when she was seven. And I never asked my dad what from, but he had more brothers. And his mom passed away when he was like, he was a teenager, I think. No, 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 I'm sorry. He was already married. He was in his 20s when his mother passed away.
Well, so Miss Nexie, can I ask a question? What do you think caused your dad to be so in touch and in tune with, you know, because that's usually the impact of sisters or other women, in his life. What made your dad be the way that he was? What do you
He,
think
uh,
it was?
he was raised by his grandmother and his mom
Oh, okay.
most of the time. So my grandpa and my great grandfather they were working the fields and stuff like that. So he was raised by two women, two very hardworking, powerful women. in his family. Even though his mom passed away at a young age, she was still someone that he, was raised by. So, and I feel that the in tune came because my mom left when I was 5 years
Mm.
old. So I think my dad, having three girls, had to kind of like, rediscover himself a little bit more and get more in tune with the feminine side that raised him. That's how I
Mhm.
feel.
Yeah. And I agree with Wanda. He was definitely ahead of his time because that's just
Yes,
something that men just didn't do.
my father was, Marlene. I've always said this to you. My dad was way ahead of his time. And, he wasn't someone that didn't convey how he felt. My father was always telling us how much he loved us, how much he cared for us, any chance he got. Always trying to instruct us with wisdom that wasn't part of his era.
Mhm.
He was always saying, like, you guys have to make sure, that you have some sort of trade, learn something. Men are not always reliable. That was ahead of him because, you know what I mean? Like, back then, man was always the one providing for the family. But in his eyes, for his girls, he wanted to tell them the truth, I guess.
You know what? You know what is funny, Nexie, about my upbringing? My mother always said, you have to have a man to do things, but also like in a sneaky type of way, she would tell all of us girls, make sure you put away something for yourself, okay? And I'd be like, wait a minute, I thought you're supposed to. I used to be like, that's a little. Did you just said depends on him, but have your own? I was like,
Yeah, my dad always said that. Always put away some of your money, always save because you never know. There's for a rainy day, and he will say, even though in this household it's always pouring, I always have something on the side just in case.
exactly. Yeah, I agree. I agree with all of that. So, Miss Nexie, let's start talking about communication. I know you shared a little bit about how your upbringing was, and the communication that you had in your household from, you were young. But give us a little bit of a reminder. How did, it was communication between your dad and between your siblings?
I think for us girls, he was a lot more patient, a lot more docile, a lot more in tune with his heart. I think he will talk to us girls different than he would to my brothers. Um, he wasn't someone that was angry or disrespectful towards us in any way. He wasn't like that. The occasional like, when something happened, but nothing. He will not disrespect
Right.
us in that way. He was very respectful. He was very open to a
Mhm.
degree, and I don't mean open as, he's gonna tell us all the nitty gritty about this and that. No, no, no. He will be open to the point where, if you do this, the consequences are this. Like I said, if you guys get married, make sure that you guys, before you do that, get a trade, get something. Men are not always reliable. That's the one thing that always stuck to my head.
Mhm.
The savings, the making sure that we're taking care of ourselves at the same time that we're taking care of everybody else, and the non-gender roles in our household. We all did everything, and my dad always said that it doesn't matter. There's no such a thing as a boy and a girl. No, we all live here. We all have to work together. So,
And next thing you know, I am laughing, but continue.
our communication was very open. And you can come to him for anything. If he didn't have the answer because he was embarrassed or he didn't know it per se, he will tell you, you know what, give me like just a few hours. I'll get back to you with that question. What he
Right.
did with that time, I don't know. But because I've done that to my kids, I think I understand what he did. He went to either ask somebody else or research it or something. How do I
Okay.
answer this?
Okay.
But he was always like that. He always got back to you if you had a problem, or if he saw you like, nervous or something, he will tell you, "What are you so nervous about?" Well, he felt it, and but he's still, look, he's still alive. He's still breathing. Like, he always tried to calm us down. So because I guess he was mom and dad, he had to do both roles. And if you ask me, and maybe I might be biased because he's my father, he did an awesome job with us.
Oh, you're allowed to be biased because, according to me, I had the best dad ever. Sorry, Nexie, but you're going to have to take a backseat to my daddy because what the reason why I feel the way I feel about my dad and the closeness that I had in my relationship with him is because my mom was the disciplinarian in the household. And it wasn't always in a good way because it was biased discipline. It was like, this is girls can't do that. This is something only for boys. And I'm like, why?
Mm.
And
Mm.
it was a lot of unfair things, and it was a lot of things like, oh, girls have to do all the cooking, all the cleaning. And I would see my brothers and my dad with their feet up watching TV or
Mm.
relaxing, or they get to sleep in, and the girls were waking up to clean and to do their laundry. And I used to be like, uh-uh, you need to wake up. And mom's like, what are you doing? I said, he need to wash his own clothes. So me and my mom always used to,
Mhm.
because I recognized from a young age I said, that's no, no. I didn't even know the words double standards and all of those things, gender roles, but I could see like, that's not, it's not even why I got to wake up. So I think because me and my mother were so different, but I understand because that's the way she grew up. Back when she
Mhm.
was growing up, women didn't work outside of the home. Women were only stay-at-home moms. So she came from a different time period. That's just how it was. So I get that, why she was so, that way because that's what she saw. But I had to teach her. I was like, Mom, but yes, things were that way when you were growing up. I said, but life is different. Why would I wait for a man to put up a picture or do something if I know how to do it myself? And she was like, I was like, but why would you want to know how to do it? I said, because that's what you do. Her brain, I used to be like, oh, so frustrated with her. I was like, learn something. I was like, do it yourself. She would wait the whole day until my dad came home from work exhausted. And then she'd be like, I need you to hang up this picture. And my dad would be like, no, I'm going to bed.
I'll hang it tomorrow. And that's the thing I didn't grow up with, Marlene. And I feel that because of the complex person that I am, I think it was best that I didn't grow up with that chaos or the feedback of both parents. Oops. Um, so my dad, like I said, he was way ahead of his time. I've always thought so myself as well. So I grew up with more of the way a man thought of life, but with the love also of a dad that was also taking the role as a mom because he had to do both. Now, my dad said that in his household too, they all had to work together, Marlene, because they were all boys. I think you're on mute.
Yeah. I was saying, so he grew up that way.
Yes, he grew up because they were all boys.
Yeah.
So my grandma and my great grandmother, put everybody to work. So my dad already had that say, and in the country side, there's no such a thing as just only males do this and females don't do that. Everybody works the field, everybody works the farms, everybody does everything. So I feel that that's why my dad was the way it was. Um, in the beginning, when he used to say certain things, I was like, I don't get it. As I get older, I'm using the same things. I'm like, oh, now I get why he said that. Or now I get why he worked the way he did with us. but he never had that only the man has to do this and the woman doesn't do that, and only the woman has to cook and clean and wash
Mhm.
clothes and everything, and the males have to sit down with their legs up watching TV. My dad would have been like, what are you sitting there for? Get up, help your
Yeah,
sisters.
yeah.
But
And I think that was the reason why I always used to, and they used to call that acting up, but I didn't think that I wasn't acting up. I just felt like it was unjust.
hmm yeah, you just felt that, why am I washing your clothes? Shouldn't you be learning how to do that?
Hmm.
Right? Why do I have to? I can wash mine. I understand that, but why should I do your chores? This is your out. Your clothing. This is your room. You eat here. You sleep here too. So why should I be your maid? In
Yeah.
other, lame words.
Yeah, in other words, yeah. Or why, if they were, the boys would be sitting down relaxing, and I'm telling you, we've been washing and cooking and doing things, and my mom's like, "Go bring your brother a lemonade." I'll be like, "It's like you don't look thirsty to me. I'm thirsty." She'd be like, "You're so rude." Yeah, whatever. What kind of wife are you gonna be? I was like, "Not that kind." Didn't say it, but under my breath, you know how you.
Okay, now I'm gonna say something that I don't know, but that is why when sometimes we get married, we act a certain way with our spouses because, what type
Uh,
of wife are you going to be, or what type of mother are you going to be, right?
mhm.
You go the opposite because you want to show her that you're not going to be like her, or you're not going to be, remotely, you're not going to pick someone like your brothers who were
I was
lazy or
like,
whatever.
no. I was like, never. And I made sure as soon as I got in a relationship, I made sure I was like, I would say mom, tell my mom to come over, and I'd be like, hey babe, can you get me a lemonade? My mom would be like falling apart. Oh, she's asking him for a drink.
You are bad.
And I didn't even want it. I just did it just to show. I was like, see, mom, things change. And she'd be looking at me like, mm.
She's like, yeah, they changed on your, but not in my mind. They still the same.
She's like, but that ain't gonna change in my house. I was like, good, keep it in your house, not in mine.
Again, and sometimes we go like so far the opposite to prove a point that sometimes and I'm gonna go there, devil's advocate here. Sometimes we ruin certain relationships because we want to prove them so wrong. It's so traumatic sometimes the way we're brought up, right? That we go far left. Hi, DJ Tanya.
Hi, Tanya. How are you doing? Welcome. And I
We
want to
go
highlight this.
far left.
I want to highlight this comment from James because he said, "Oh Lord, if only women were allowed to cook, I would die because I cook and grill what I want to."
We'll be there, James. Just like I told you, send me the address. Marlene and I will be right
Mhm.
there. We don't mind.
Yeah, you know I have no problem putting my feet up. My mother would be like turning over in her grave. She'd be like, "Oh."
My dad right now is saying, "Hoorah, hoorah! Yeah, my baby. There you go." I feel that communication, as we're speaking on our topic today, Marlene. Um, it's important, and I feel that we learn to communicate with our spouses, our friends, and our children. But we're talking about children today, right? From one mother to another. We learn to communicate with the way they have communicated with us since we're little.
Mhm.
Now, if the communication hasn't been there and it's not good, and you don't think it's good because you're an individual. That's something you said earlier. What
Mhm.
about individuality? I get that, but I think that we learn to communicate from the lack of, right, of
Mhm.
communication we have had, or the abundance of, because it can be, it's something that needs to be balanced. The one thing I never shied away from, because my father never did, is those weird communications. The personal communications with our children. I it was I understood my dad so much more. Like I said, let me get back to you on that.
Mhm.
Because sometimes your kids come with certain questions that are uncomfortable to you, but you need to dig deep inside, not overreact, and try to give them the best answer possible. As to maybe on your case, it would have been, why are you asking that type of question? What is wrong with you? Right?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people do that.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you said that, Nexus, because a lot of times I can say from how I was parented, it was not, I didn't feel free. I didn't feel comfortable to say, "Hey mom, I'm feeling this way," or "Hey mom, I'm going through this." The person I always went to was my dad, because my dad would never overreact. I'm not saying that my dad did a lot of, oh boy, he did a lot of he did a lot of that, but he still would answer my questions, and he wouldn't be like, "That's weird," or "It's strange," or he
Yeah,
would.
my dad did that. Yeah, baby. Let me get back to you on that. Yeah, good question. The clearing of the throat. And I was like, "Why? He was fine 2 seconds ago. Why is he clearing his throat so much now?" But he
Mm,
was embarrassed, maybe unable to answer, but he will come back and then look for me and say, "Oh, you want to talk? Come on, let's go for a walk." And then he will try to explain to me the best way possible the answer to the question I had, and the reason why I shouldn't be asking certain questions to just anybody, or I
mm,
shouldn't be meddling on certain topics that were not up to my age. Because he did go there sometimes. If I would ask him, "Oh, Dad, I saw in this soap opera, this lady was doing this," my dad would be like, "We're gonna talk about that later. Just give me a couple of hours." So he will tell me, there's a reason why they're not appropriate and they're shown late at night. You know what I mean? Like, he will take the time to explain.
mhm,
And the that allow me to be able to do the same with my kids.
mm,
I have the experience that you don't have yet, because your children are still little, but
yeah.
I have dealt with them from birth all the way to now that they're all married and have they're
Mhm.
having babies and stuff like that. So there's a lot of history there, and there's a lot of myself. Let me get back to you on that one. Because
Next week, guess what? Now I'm starting to do the I'm starting to do the sighing, and I always said, I said, I will
I never do that.
never do the sighing, because I just be like, oh my god, like, is it that bad? Like, never mind, I don't want to ask you. And I was like, I will never do that when I get to be mom. And then now I'm like, oh my god, did I just sigh? Oh boy.
Yeah, it's something that you're gonna have to learn to control. Trust me. I was like, I'm never gonna do that. You know what? Let me get back. I will answer my kids right away. That was my thinking, right? Right away. I know everything. And then they started those weird questions, and I was like, you
Yeah.
know what? Can I
It's
get
a
back
little
to
late.
you?
It's a little late, I think that it's time for you to go to bed. Go brush your teeth.
I don't want to give you the wrong answer, but let me get back to you in a few hours. Like, and I thought I never was going to do that, be that parent. Not that it was bad, is that it always gave me, like, did I say something wrong? Right?
Exactly.
Because he said that he cannot answer that. Because as a kid, you're always like that. Until my father explained one day, "No, no, no, you didn't. You didn't do anything wrong. I just had to get the right answer to you."
Hmm.
So I
Yeah, and
always said,
you know what my dad would say, and he was like, your question makes dad feel a little uncomfortable. I learned that word very early in my life, because I didn't know that there were certain things that made men blush or anything strange. So I would just ask them because I didn't have that level of comfort with my mother, and I didn't have that relationship with my sisters yet. So I would be lying. I was like, Dad, what about this? And he'd be like, um, whew, boy, is it hot in here.
My dad had to say, and I know what you're talking about, because my dad had to say, honey, I maybe I'm not the right person to ask that to, because I don't have the same issues you're having right now. Maybe let's talk to your sister, huh? Huh? You should talk to your sisters. She may
Mm,
know more. They may know more, or she may know more about the topic at hand, right?
yeah,
I really don't. And so I feel that because I was raised with a dad, alone, I have a lot of his wisdom, a lot of his
mhm,
traits, his qualities, and I always try to do the same with my kids. Even to this, they're married and everything, but they can still come to me if they need anything. There's
mhm.
not nothing that I will not try to help them with if they ever need my help. There's not a question that I'm not going to answer if they need it answered. You know what I mean? So I think that because of him, I was able to be the mother that I am today and that I've been all these years.
Wow, that's incredible. One thing that I feel, and I'm going to ask you next. I'm going to answer mine first, my own question. But the question that I have is, what have you taken from the communication from your father, and what have you changed? Like, what have you added? So, my thing is because I saw my dad, who was a very, very patient person. Having so many girls, also having boys, and he had me later in life. um and he never made a thing that, even no matter what he was dealing with, my dad always said, you're never too tired for the people that you love. And I had to learn that. And I'm still learning that. Yeah, you can say, I need a few minutes, but it should never be, I'm tired, or leave me alone, or go away. My dad never treated me like that. So that's something that I took. And something that I would add is something that my mother didn't do is, teach some things that you went through. Teach some things that you dealt with that was not good, things that you learn. Children need to hear that. I messed up, I did this, or I used to do that, or somebody did this to me. When we open up ourselves and we put all the cards on the table, and we tell everybody, tell your children the things that you go through, it is good for them, because then they can see you as a human being and not just mom.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, from my with that question in mind, from my father, um, like I said, I'm talking from how he was to us girls. Like I said before, I've never talked to my brothers. It probably have a different outcome, but of this question. But for me, I learned from him, um, to always be there for us, always be there for my kids, for our family. I learned, that love is never, um, given in just small doses. Is given in loads to our kids and our siblings. I learned patience from him, a lot of patience that sometimes I didn't have because I wanted everything, done to perfection right away and things like that. So I had to learn that from him. I learned to be more thoughtful of what came out of my mouth so that I don't hurt my kids. I learned that a one parent household can be a lot more loving, a lot more peaceful, and a lot more, welcoming than a two parent household. And I thank him for that every day.
Wow. What a gift, Nexi. What a gift that you have. A lot of people come from a two-parent household and don't feel that sort of love. Um, and people will say all the time that, oh yeah, I had my mother and my father, but you'll see, like, and be saying to myself, dude, or this chick is messed up, or this dude is messed up. I was like, just because you come from a two-parent household, that doesn't make it a healthy household. Sometimes one of
Mm-hmm.
the best things that a parent can do is separate or divorce, so that they don't your children don't see the toxicity. They don't see, certain things that it's not good for them to see in relationships. So yeah, kudos to your dad.
Thank you, Marlene, and kudos to yours as well.
Yeah. So I don't know if you have something else that you want to continue talking about, because I'm out of my point. So I'm going to let you have the floor if there's something that.
No, the only thing is, Marlene, we have kids, we have children, we have, a lot of responsibilities because, the one thing I did, which is why it was a little bit hard for me to understand and implement how my father was with us, is because when I came here and I started having my family here in the United States, it's totally different to where I come from. So I had to balance a lot of responsibilities, a job, an entire household to myself and my kids and schools and this and that. So there was a lot of commotion, as I called it before. There was a lot of things that will get in the way to kind of implementing, a lot of the things that my father showed me. But I had to literally like take a deep breath, take a step back, and start, looking at the entire picture, not allowing the day to day to stop me from having good communication with my children, because that was important to me, to always be there for them regardless of how many other things I was doing in the day. So I had to learn to balance myself, to balance, my mind, my body, as they say, in the whole, to be able to deal with my kids and show them that, they can always count on me, no matter how life is, no matter how busy it is. I always had to make sure that the line of communication was always there, regardless of the time. I could come home at 9 o'clock at night, and if they had something to ask me, they will wait for me until I got home. Even though their father was probably home by that time, sometimes they wouldn't ask him, they had to ask me. So, I had to learn to say, not to say, but your dad is here. Like, why didn't you ask him? I had to stop myself from saying that, because I was like, if I say that to them, they're going to stop that communication. I'm going to stop that communication between us. So I was always grateful that they did that, even though I was super tired. I was always grateful that they did that, regardless of how meaningless the question was. Why did you have to wait all day? Or why didn't you ask me on a phone call? Whatever. So I always had to make sure that I had everything, not that I had, that I left everything aside to concentrate on that wonderful question that had waited for me the entire day, which was, do you think pink will go with purple shirt tomorrow? Because I've been thinking about it like the whole day. I don't know if my pink shoes will go with my purple shirt.
Yeah.
That was an important question to her. It wasn't to me, right? But it was to her. Or if my son had something to say, well, I was thinking about this, but do you think I could wear like, like the high tops to play like, this other game I'm playing? Or do you think it's okay to go with the low tops? It
Hmm.
wasn't the question. It was the fact that I wanted to convey to them that no question was dumb or little enough for them not to ask mom.
Wow. Now that is good right there, Nexie. That's good, because a lot of children don't have that comfort level, that they don't have anybody. Actually, sometimes they don't even have it in mother or father. They have to seek that outside. At least I know. I could talk to my dad about some things, but honestly, as a girl, there's certain things that you want to have with your mom. There's certain
Mm-hmm.
conversations you want to have with a sister, and even though I had those there, it wasn't open. Like I felt like if I would say something, like especially don't even go into wanting to know things about sexuality and different things that's dealing with women's issues and desires and things like that, they would be like,
What
uh-uh.
is wrong with you?
Well, yeah, like, are you crazy? We don't talk about those things. But and that's the reason why I feel like that's not good to have it that way. Even though something that make you blush or uncomfortable feels strange, but you should feel honored that your children want to say, "Hey, mom, this happened," or even to have the door open. Having conversations, like especially when you have younger children, having the conversation about good touch and bad touch. That's something that I did really early. Like nobody, I mean nobody. If somebody makes you feel uncomfortable, if somebody is touching you, somebody is making suggestions, or they're talking to in a way that is inappropriate or feel weird, get away and don't even listen to what they say, because what people will do, these um pedos will try to say, if you tell anybody, I'll hurt this person, or I'll hurt that person. You have to have that open communication, that if anything like that ever happens, that they would feel comfortable to say,
Coming
yeah,
to you.
coming to you, yeah, and say, this is happening to me.
I had sisters, Marlene, and I thank God every day for them because with my sisters, we can talk about anything. It's weird as it is. We can talk about anything. Nothing is off limits with them. They will make fun of you sometimes. They will laugh at the questions you're asking and giggles maybe from, I don't know, embarrassment. I'm not sure, but nothing was off limits. We if my father couldn't, if we couldn't ask my dad, we always had my older sister. She was always there for that, no matter what. And then she will like try to figure it out. But did you try this? Did you try that? Because I had this, and also I felt like this. So we always had that communication with my sisters. Some things that I felt I couldn't ask my dad as I got older. Not when I was little, because when I was little, I would just blurt things out, and my dad would be with his eyes wide open. Where did you hear that? But with my sisters, I always had that line of communication, and I'm grateful for that because it allowed me to have one place that I could go for answers.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's a good thing, and that's a really great thing to see. I think it's important for children to also see, you know, parents in good relationships with their siblings. That's good for them too. That they talk to not just me, they talk to, so they can know, if I can't talk to mom or dad, I could talk to auntie, I could talk to uncle, I could talk to somebody. But when there's no communication in a household, that's where the problem usually lasts, and the kids start going to their friends who know nothing.
Less than they do. But it's important what you just said. To have those the open line of communication to if somebody touches you inappropriately, you have someone you can come to, someone you can tell that it's gonna do the best that there is for you. They're gonna respond in a different way. I knew when something happened to me, my story. I knew that I was gonna go to my sister, because if I went to my dad, he was gonna be heartbroken. He was gonna be devastated. He was gonna probably do something that so I was able to go to my sister, not right away though, Marlene. Okay, mind you that not right away. It took me years to do this. My sister was crying so much, but I had someone there. I just didn't want to seek it. Like it was weird. It's a weird reaction. But I always had that. And my sister always told us, you have your private areas, that nobody should be touching. If anything happens or if anybody touches you, you have to let me know, or let our older sister know, or let one of our brothers know. But you know who you can tell, Marlene, because if you tell your brothers, you know what's gonna happen.
In my household, it was a machete, or it's going to be a Glock.
Again, so you know who you can. So, but you always have to give your children that line of communication. If you cannot come to me for whatever reason because you're embarrassed or whatever, you can go to so and so, right? There's always someone that you got to give them that they can go to, and you can be that someone for someone too.
Yeah. And that's why I always say that it's important for your children to know that you have, sibling, like their aunts and uncles, but also even close friends. Like you can have their best friends that become, their aunties and uncles because they're so close to the family that they do become family. So,
And Marlene, from our topic, as we said, from one mother to another, as a mother, I tell you, I have had a lot of. We've been living in the same house for many many years. A lot of my kids' friends became my kids, and I always, Marlene, one way or another, would find a way to ask them, is anybody like, is everything okay at home? Has anybody ever, do you know what your privates are? If anything ever happens, you can come to me. You can always, or look for your mommy. And if your mommy's not available, you can come to me. You don't feel like you can't. So I was always asking, and, I know people will say that was none of your business, but sometimes we have to extend ourselves a
Mhm.
little because some parents are busy or
No,
the kiddos don't have anywhere to go.
or some parents are closed-minded. Their minds would never, even if you wanted to tell them, they would be like, no, 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 no,
Mm.
no, 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 no.
That never happened, right? That's my
Mhm,
brother. That never happened.
mhm.
So I always did that because of what happened to me. I always wanted to extend um, that mode of communication. If anything ever happens, or if anybody ever does anything to you, you can come to me. You know that, right? I will always tell the kids that. I have so many extra sons and daughters out there because of my kids, but it's always important for us to make sure, that our kids know that they always have
Yep,
a place where they can come to, seek answers, or, solve a problem, that we're always available and open for that.
exactly, exactly. Next, I could have said it any better. And this, I feel like this is a great topic. Talking about how we feel, because we have similar backgrounds, but different at the same time. But still, we're united in saying that it's important to have open communication, even if you didn't have it when you were growing up. Is things that there's some things that I had to learn, and I know that there's things that you are learning still when it comes to communication. And I feel like some relationships, like, you'll never ever figure them out, but that's for another day.
Never. No matter how hard you try, it will never go anywhere.
Nope, 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 nope. You'll never figure them out. So, great topic, Miss Nexie. Any final words?
I think I probably said enough as it is, but um, you know, just keep those lines of communication between your children and your extended family open, always open, because you never know what somebody's going through. And again, also, you never know if that person has nobody to go to for an answer to a question. So just always keep yourself open to for people to come to if they ever need you. That's the only thing I can say from one mother to another.
Great, great final words. And my final words would be that, sometimes it's uncomfortable to have conversations and say things, or even to be patient enough to listen to your children. But I'm telling you that if you don't stop and listen, to what your kids have to say. And it may be something, it may sound silly to you, it may not make any sense, but things that are important to them should be important to you. And before I go, I want to give a shout out to all my channel members. One over here, I know she doesn't want the accolades. And also, I'm going to be putting links to the content creators in the in the description box when this video uploads, and that is Team Ranger 92308. The word kicking it with the Rooks. So I'm going to put the links to those content creators' channels. Thank you guys so much for your support. You guys check out their channels and show them some love. Thank you so much, Miss Nexty. Another great sip and chat.
You know it, Marlene. See you next week, guys.
See you guys next week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
And if you have not already, hit that like and leave a comment in the comment section below. See you guys next week. Bye-bye.